I had this all figured out, and now I can't get on Hangouts. Come on. Streaming events. Fuck. Ooh. Ooh. Studio beta live streaming events. Live control room. Hi, Sherry. Hi, Mary. We're trying to get on Hangouts, and it's not working for me. So just hang loose. We're going to work on this. Probably didn't hear me. Don't want a video. Shit. Crap. Hey, Kathy. Thank you. I can't get into the other stream. That's what's so bad. Are you hearing me? I had to turn my volume way down on the laptop. It should be pulling from. Okay, you're hearing me. All right. There's got to be something simple that I missed. Hi, everybody. I'm here. Can you hear me? Okay. I wasn't paying attention to y'all. I was over here having a panic attack. All right. I deleted the other. Mary, I had deleted that one. I did a test and everything worked great, but now I can't get into the control room. Well, I guess worst comes to worst, I could talk to you from here. Anybody else got any ideas? Internet's really slow for me too. It's unusual. Offline. I want to go online. Live control room. Okay, I'm looking at the live control room. I think I'm looking at what y'all are. Live control room. Well, okay. I thought I did it this morning, but it was make sure there's not something hidden over here. It was done right then, and this one I scheduled. So I'm gonna have to figure that out, and I can't right now. So we're going on. How do the people over on YouTube know that we're here? And should I go over to YouTube and do it from there? Anybody have an answer to that? Things ought to work the first time. Your YouTube. Okay, so I'm seeing the chats from YouTube. Cool. Okay, I'm just going on where I'll figure out the other later. All right, take a deep breath. Switch from computer mode to creative mode. Hi, y'all. I'm back. Yes. I know how this goes because I've spent my entire career doing this. That doesn't mean I like it. All right. I suggested watercolor today, so then that led to something else, and then that led to something else. So there you go. I'm going to bring that down here. So then I thought, okay, if we're going to do watercolor, I could do something out of a Charles Reed book. And I don't know if y'all know Charles or not. He was my first watercolor tutor, and he is extremely well known. And I've had the good fortune to study with him quite a bit. And his style is something that I aspire to. Trying to clean that out. Okay, quit that. So, travel back with me to 2004, 5 maybe. And Randy and I picked out a watercolor workshop to go to with international artists. I'm going to put it back together here. My treasure. I don't use it very much. I save it. And then none of my grands have a V for first name, so it won't do any good. Anyway, this is from a company called The Little Paint Box in England. This guy's name is Craig Young. And Charles had one, so of course we had to have one. So this is how it works. The top comes off and becomes your water bucket. Here's my case with my initials. Then you open it up and kind of like open the steeple, and there's all the people. Okay, good. So, not knowing what I was doing in the beginning, which is, understandable. I'm sure y'all can relate to that. I still don't know what I'm doing. I put paint right in the tin, and it's harder than the dickens to get out. So, of course, I opened it up today, and it was full of, well, not full, but some of them were down low enough that I could dig them out. So I went ahead and made some extra pans. I'm just going to put pans in here now. And my favorite starting place is warm and cool, so cool and warm. Cool yellow, which is lemon, and warm yellow, which is cad yellow. And I do the same with the reds. I'm going to skip that one. So I'm going to do my cool red, which is permanent alizarin crimson, and my warm red, which is cadmium red. And then I go to blues, and I do ultramarine, and I'm going to skip down here, and cobalt. Cobalt's my warm, ultramarine is my cool. I've got cad orange. I'm going to go ahead and pop that right there. And the Viridian came from the old set. Let's pop that right there. I have neutral tint right there. I think this is raw. That's quinacridone green. And this is raw sienna. And that's one of the teals, and this is cobalt teal. Okay. Any questions? So when you get ready to go, you just pop it up, close it up, and you're ready to go. You can drop that in a small sketchbook in a backpack. And I am ever so sorry that I accidentally put M. Graham in here, and I think it's this one, because it will never dry. I even got new water. So we're just going to leave that alone. Now, back up. When Charles paints, he paints every day, most days. So he just opens his little travel kit and then just adds some fresh paint to the top of the pan. Those of us who don't paint every day religiously end up with dried paint. It's very hard to reactivate. So that's just some information for your information. The other okay. This has a lid on it too, but it's missing. We're all not surprised by that. I'll just open it. Anyway, this is the Winsor Newton artist quality travel kit. Same thing, you take off the white. Here it is. Duh, it's not white. Okay, there it is, fully put together. This becomes your water tin. You open it up. Here's your little water container. You have a little Kolinsky brush, about a size, I don't know, 1, 2. Why doesn't somebody come out with a good retractable travel brush? Because I see double with my 3 times glasses. I have trouble hitting the hole. And if you get a hair out of order, you're just screwed. So there's that. And then you open this up. Here's your mixing palette. And if you want to change some things, you pull this up and then that frees these up to change them out. Problem with this is it gets real sticky and almost frozen. So while I have it up, I'm going to clean out under it. And like y'all, I have more stuff than I will ever use. Does that fit in here somewhere? Nope. Where does that go? Here. No. I don't remember. That doesn't do you any good at all. That's the only place I see. You know, stuff's got to be practical. And that is stuck down, so I'm gonna leave that for now. Here it is. Ta-da! I figured it out. All right, so put this little baby up with the rest of the travel palettes and all that. First time we went on this trip to Italy, like I said, we picked out international artists. Used to do about 10 a year. I think they still do about 4 a year. And it's always someplace in Europe, from Italy to, they do go to England, Croatia, Prague, Salzburg, stuff like that. And you go for 2 weeks. And there are usually no more than 20 people that go. And we picked out the workshop, and then we found out who the tutor was. And I had no clue who he was. Didn't even really know who he looked like, what he looked like. So we went. But on his materials list, these are the best brushes. You know, everything's the best brush. It's going to make you wonderful. This brush, I believe, is made by Da Vinci, but it's sold by Art Express, and it's a signature brush with Charles' name on it. 4 of these, I think, were $300. And Randy paints 2, so we had to have 2 of everything. We don't have that kind of money anymore, by a long shot. And that was the trip that I took. His favorite colors, Charles, but I took 2 tubes of each one because I didn't know how long it would take to use a tube of watercolor. We each had a Gorilla Painter paint box, a 9x12, the lid lifts up, it's got a shoulder strap and all that cool stuff. And you paint in there and you hold your paper up here. Tripod, folding stool, umbrella, because you're out in the sun, And all this fits into a backpack with whatever gear or painting supplies you choose to take. My backpack weighed about 30 pounds. And on the cobblestone streets of Italy, because the buses can only go so far. So we'd be on the bus for 30 or 40 minutes, going to a little village, then we would have to get out and walk to the piazza. If I had fallen over on my back, in fact, Randy a couple times caught me on the back, pushed me back up, I would have been on my back like Kafka's roach. So, in honor of all that, I've still got my alcohol ink stuff over here. I got out a less expensive brush. This is one of my art secrets from AliExpress to do some wetting with. And then I think, excuse me for my reach. No, that'll be good enough. I don't even think I'm going to need it because I've got fresh paint. Alrighty. Let me check the chat. Hey, Kathy. This is maddening. Y'all don't know how much I hate it when stuff doesn't work. Let me get this loaded up on my iPhone so we can see. Okay, I've got you loaded up on the iPad. Those of you who were with me the other day didn't see this. I don't think, well, you didn't if you weren't with me the other day. I just thought I'd show you my, this is what I do with a commission. Just a hair. I paint a study first and make sure that the client likes it because they know what they're after or what they think they want, and you don't want to paint a half sheet of 300-pound watercolor paper to accomplish that. And I am challenged when it comes to these things. I usually just stick a palette knife up in there. And I try to keep up with the colors that I'm using, but I know in this particular case, I'm using mostly green leaf and blueberry, the handmade colors, with a few, I have a Da Vinci in there, and I have some Daniel Smith because this looks like the Shadow Violet, which I love that color because it gives you such an atmospheric depth to the painting. Yeah, the real painting will have darker here, and darker over here. But this was just to show the composition, and it crops in about right here. So, there's that. So now we have a clean piece of paper. So, has anybody heard of Charles Reed? I don't see anything. No, none of you have heard of him. Really? Oh, okay, Kathy. That would be good. That would be a good reason. Charles is, I'll give you my Charles thing. Charles is compared to Homer Winslow, not Winslow Homer, God, and to John Singer Sargent with his watercolor styles. He, Charles is in his late 70s, I think. And I don't know what to say about him other than that, but he was a teacher at the famous art school when that was going big in the 60s. Gallery sales, he's up there for a half sheet or quarter. Hang on. Filming. I don't care. I'm live. It just surprised me. Bye. Do you want me to go pick up some fish at the fish market? They went fishing this morning, so that tells me they didn't catch anything. Anyway, that's Charles. His gallery paintings for a quarter sheet are around $2,000, $2,500. And studying with him convinced me that watercolor should not be less expensive than any other medium. So all of my works, it doesn't matter if they're oil and caustic watercolor or whatever, are the same price. Because quite frankly, watercolor takes a whole lot more training and a whole lot more effort to get up to this level. So we showed up in Italy, and I'm not the best traveler. I have anxiety disorder being away from home. Kid you not. So we're having a pizza in Rome, and Randy says, I bet that's the tutor. So we were playing that game. No, you don't know who he is. And so anyway, it turned out it was. So Randy and I said, don't embarrass us, Randy. We don't even know him. Well, Randy's outgoing and all that. So he walked right over. And of course, it was love at first sight. He and Charles hit it off and had a ball together. So then we popped on a bus and painted for 2 weeks. And every other artist, I kid you not, on that trip were advanced watercolorists. There was from New Zealand, from Australia, from England, Italy. I mean, just everywhere, Canada. And I was a rank beginner, and Randy was even worse than that. I was such a rank beginner that in his box, I packed hot press paper, which, of course, is difficult to work on, particularly with this style. Charles mostly works on cold press. I've got wet on the back of these. Cold press, and he likes rough occasionally. So I've picked out a couple of things to show you briefly. Let's see if I can get this up here. Let me put the camera down a little bit. Most of you I have ascertained like a real tight realism style, where Charles, there's nothing realism about him. If you've ever wondered where I get the splashing with my dirty water, it's from him. I was in a workshop one time with him, and the little lady who was just wanting to be the star of the show tottered up there and got his water jug, and he said, no. She said, but it needs to be cleaned. He said, no. He kept it until the end of the painting because he was using it as he went for splatter water. And you can see that in here. This is his style. He does what's called a contour, blonde contour drawing. Does anybody know what that is? Yeah, Beth, I thought about that. Mary, it depends on what time of year it is. If you'll put question in caps at the first of your question, I'll try to catch them more regular. We were in Italy, and it was I don't remember. It was spring or summer. So of course, there with that issue, you have to worry about it drying too fast, because with this loose style, you're depending on the little beads that you leave when you're ready to transition, and those will dry out real quick. You'll get blooms faster, so it is a little more difficult. I'm not the best outdoors painter because my prime time even now is from 10 to 2 or 3, where the prime lighting is at 8 o'clock in the morning or 5 or 6 o'clock at night. So I'm not the best. I don't like bugs. I don't want to get hot. I don't want to sweat. But I have all the gear. Joycey, I'm going to make you a moderator. You don't have to if you don't want to, but there you go. Watercoloring outside in dry time. You have to have a method of holding your paper. A lot of people that I know hold it in their lap, but then that means you've got to have a chair with a back on it and arms because you've got to prop yourself up with your kit in one hand and holding that and propping up your paper at the same time. So it's easier if you have a little easel or a field easel that you can travel with. You got to have a chair, and if the sun's really out, you got to have some way to keep the sun off your work. All right. Any other questions right now? All right. And there is quite a bit of a lag today, I see. Thank you, YouTube. Okay, anybody know about contour drawing? Blonde contour, yeah. Okay, that's what Charles uses. He never picks up his pencil from the paper. And I am rusty with that technique. Yeah, Beth, do it. The experts say that is painting outside is the best way to get better because you're with it, you're painting live, you can smell where you are, you can smell the ocean, and when you look at the painting that you do, every time you look at that, you will remember the atmosphere that was around you, and that makes those kind of paintings that much more special. Okay, a blonde contour drawing and just a number 2 pencil. You don't have to have anything special. I was working in here for 2 hours before y'all came in, and forgot to put my umbrella up. I couldn't keep up with an outdoor painting group when I was 55, and I'm 69. I don't think I could do it anymore. Okay, blonde contour drawing. Roughly, it's where you come in and following the line of a model. Then there's no lead there. That's good. You don't erase, and you don't, because watercolor paper doesn't like erasing. Now, if I were drawing this from life, I would have to sit and study the model a whole lot more than just copying his sketch. And one day I asked him, I said, Charles, why are you drawing in little circles right there? And he said, that's where I'm trying to decide where I want to go next. And he says this process gets you ready to paint because you're so familiar with your subject. And there you go. Now, some of these areas he does like this. You go back, you correct by coming in and just drawing another piece on top. If the leg is too thick, you just come back and draw like that. You leave those pencil marks because those are the mark of the artist, which is you. So you don't want everything to look like a giclée print on watercolor paper. You want it to be, you want you in it. Okay? Let me check your questions. Okay. I don't see anything else. Well, you know what? That's not bad. I wish I had done it bigger. Y'all can't see it there. So that's what I'm going to do. Nudes are also the way to learn shape and proportion and scale and all that. Um, and they real artists, which I'm not, they may go to a live model nude session once or twice a week, or they hire them to be in their studio. But that's the way to practice. And then at some point, then if they have to put clothes on something, they know the proportions of the body that are under it. This is one of his milder nudes. I'm not really in. It's not that I don't. I'm not in favor of. I just don't like them with older, older women maybe, with boobies going every direction, like some of these. And you can call me a prude or whatever. I don't care. Um, but you can do tasteful nudes. And you can see here on this one where he has left his pencil drawings. So I'm going to take a crack at this. Any questions before I start? I love you guys, or I wouldn't let you see me fumble around like this. This watercolor was the first thing I picked up, and it was so over my head at that point that that's one reason why I gave it up for a while. And after the years that I've spent with oil and pastel, I can come back to my watercolor now, and I know a whole lot more. There's a blind contour where you're just looking at the model and never look at your paper. There's a regular contour where I was doing what I was doing. You can look back and forth. The goal is to not pick up your pencil because you want to trick your brain into learning the silhouette of what you're doing, and you can't do that if you're constantly picking it up and sketching and doing this thing and drawing a shadow for an eye. That's drawing for drawing. This is drawing for painting, and there's a big difference. Drawing is like Kathy does, where it's finished art. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's a medium all its own. But in oil painting, I just take a brush and just slash on where my coordinates are and take off. I don't have a drawing per se. So I'm going to do this again bigger. And oops, didn't do it, officer. It's real hard to come to this and not erase. Now, if you make a huge bumbling mistake, whoops, I got to come on down here. Charles says it's better to start completely over because the paper does not like the erasing. If I were drawing this for myself, I'd be measuring. Measuring. I got to see where I am here. There's another art term I'm going to share with you. This is called foreshortening. When you are viewing, in this case, you're viewing the model on the same axis as her butt, which means that her feet and legs are going to be bigger because they're closer to you, and it means her head and shoulders are going to be smaller because they're farther away. That's a concept that's real hard to understand sometimes. And look at that bohunkus leg. We got to bring that back down. That's better. Now here comes the tricky part. Now, I'll let y'all see it. This is usually where I clutch. And if I believed in whining about not being able to do stuff, I would whine right now. I'm going to use my number 6 Kolinsky. Let that get wet. I'm going to use my special palette just because I can. And working with limited desk space may make it a whole lot easier to work. And Lena says, "Oh crap, I just bought the Robax palette." Oops. Okay. He also drew a bounding square around this. I love those. Um, they're very fun to mess with, like when you have half of your subject in a square and the other half sticking out of the opening. Oops. Now my drawing is way off. This has got to be more like that. And just because Charles can do it without erasing doesn't mean I have to. I know what to do. I just don't know. I just don't do it. Kneaded eraser. And I have seen him use a kneaded eraser. Very little. You don't want to, because the more you erase and the more you lift paint and everything, you are disturbing the surface of your paper. And once you disturb it, you can't ever get it back. Oh, just Beth, just a number 2 pencil. I mean, you know, cheapo pencils that you get at the office supply store. Kathy, that's great. Draw with pen. Water soluble pencil is great. Ink tints. You know, to me, I kind of think using ink tints or watercolor pencil is a different technique, and it's just as viable as this one. Yeah, Kathy, that's what I was just thinking, that because the ink tints are permanent when they're drying, and yeah, play with it. I'm still looking at my drawing. That too is better. And I think sometimes just taking the line off a little bit relieves you being confused on which line to follow. And again, this is just another technique of hundreds. Try it. Still not happy with that. But come in like that. Let's see, I've goobered that up where I can't tell where I am. All right, here we go. We're not going in. I'm not going into with you with measuring, 6.5, whatever a head measures. If you put 6.5 heads on your paper, you'll be close to a proportion. I'm not going into that kind of drawing as though you were doing it from scratch. That's food for another day. I'm going to mix a skin tone. And this may be where I learned that I like the mud that's on the palette that the paints make when they're allowed to blend together. I've got mud on here right now. Now, for skin tone, you can adjust it. If you need more yellow in it, you just add a little more yellow from your pile. And the same thing with brown. If you've got a darker skinned person, you just move a little brown into your mix. So that's the theory behind that. I'm going to put some more yellow down. It's so nice working with fresh pigment. And for blue, I'm going to put in a little bit of ultramarine over here. For painting this size, this is probably plenty of paint. So we'll see. First thing he does, I don't remember this, but he does a real light wash. If y'all have watched me very much, you'll know that I say don't lift your brush up until you have to reload it, and reload it by putting your brush down sideways. My paint is still very wet, so it's going to, and I just lifted it up, so don't do as I do, do as I say. And I really think that arm is up there. We're just going to do that. We're playing, right? Put just a little bit of teal. Poppy's home. I could try to hold it where y'all can see it and I can work, but I'm not doing too well with that. I could use the next size bigger brush. If you want a little bit more red in it, because the legs are closer to you and might have a little more red. Do you see me start to tickle it? This is what I call tickle. This is what I strive for. I'm going to let that dry real good. And in the meantime, I'm going to come over here and put a little something kind of dark. And I am going to switch to my bigger brush. A bigger brush. This would be an 8. And I didn't get it fully wet, but.
You kill that. You kill that fox. You kill that fox. Here's my boy. Here's my boy. Here's my boy.
Sorry about that, guys. I'm doing just pulling that color on down because I don't need a big dark background. Stay out of it.
You still live?
Yes, sir.
Let me close the door.
You can.
I was gonna go to a sale deal tonight. Not sure if I'm going.
And I don't know what these things are because I'm not looking at the original photograph. It doesn't really matter. Here's where I deliberately let the shadow go into the figure because that tends to blend them into the background better. Excuse me for snorting. Okay. While that dries, I'm going to see what y'all are saying. My drawing is awful. But hey, Linda. No questions, all right. Now, at this point, can you see the sheen right here on this little gold part? It has almost gone too far to work back into. Where here, If I go back in there with some alizarin, that's still wet enough to take it. I just said alizarin because it could. It will take that paint without making a bloom. But it's a dance between the paper being too wet or too dry. See? And see where that absorbed that alizarin? I'm going to dry this I don't ordinarily like to dry. And the reason is because these fancy pigments that we've all convinced ourselves we need continue to move after they're on their way to drying. They continue to move with each other and granulate and do all kinds of neat stuff. It isn't dry until it's cool to the touch on the back of your hand. I think we're good enough to go on. I just did that because I wanted to. Glazing with some ultramarine. And I could also use some cobalt there. At this point, I'm a little darker than what he is. I don't want this to be a hard edge. Thirsty brush, and I'm pulling that color back because it was a little bit dark. I have no clue where the light's coming from. I'm still using colors out of that little mix I picked up before. This is where the quality of the tools comes in handy. And you don't have to paint like this, don't get me wrong. But if you choose to, that's where your tools come in handy. Some of these things you can't do it effectively with synthetic brushes. Now, I will say this too. There's some really good synthetics that are coming out that mimic the one that I've used that I like the best is the Princeton Neptune. Keep forgetting. As long as that paper is shiny, I can come back into it. I didn't draw the other arm. Not sure it was on there. This is even a different pose than. I've got a hard line here. And see a little bit. Y'all getting bored yet? Okay, I'm leaving it. Done. I think I could get in doing this his style. My problem is I don't know how to do it when I'm doing it on my own. And that just comes with practice. Plus, I don't have nudes I can get next to. Here's the finish. I guess I could keep going, but I'm not. Guess I could keep going. Nah. That's it. Now, what y'all talking about? Thank you, Carmen. It's okay, Gail. No problems. 517. Let's see. Do I have another question in chat? I'm looking. See you, Mary. The block is dry. Okay. Any more questions? There are several sites on the internet that you can see live models nude, and some of them are on a turntable that turns very slowly so you can see different poses that you might be interested in painting. A lot of those are free. Supposedly not as good as live, but I've painted models from live, yeah, even a nude one, and it's problematic for me. Well, I mean, staring at a shaved male body that's kind of weird. So there's that. I clutch. I tend to just flatly clutch. And if you're in a live situation with a model, I'm not antisocial, don't get me wrong. But you got to contend with people around you who are excellent distractions. I learned a long time ago not to paint on the back of my watercolor paper unless I'm doing swatches or something. I lost a painting that in hindsight was really good, and it's upside down in a frame. Looked and looked and looked for it. My brother said, "Oh, are you looking for so-and-so?" I said, "Yeah." This is what it just makes me crazy to draw the contour drawing in a room full of people that are moving around. I cannot fathom. But yet the requirements aren't hard. I mean, it's just very, very loose. And sometimes in his case, the drawing ends up helping figure out where the colors are going to go. Let's try this little ballerina. We got time. Is there? I haven't seen a YouTube models channel. Looks like she's got a bruised butt, and he got a little aroused. I'd be laughing my ass off. Oh, I know about Croaky. Yeah, I've watched them for 10 years. I need to just do one a day. So y'all need to make me. All right. Enough fooling. Pencil. And so now this time I'm going to do a little bit of that. Here we go. Yeah, I lifted. Yep, lifted. Look like toes. I think we can do better than that. Rules are made to be broken. I know better. Better. Ooh, she looks like a manly man. Alrighty. Check you guys. Bye, Carmen. You know, I just learned yesterday from, look how dirty that is. You're supposed to be able to just warm it in your hand, Shauna said, and it will get clean when you can rub it, hold it and mush it together and everything. I thought you just had to throw them away then. Well, you saw me. I did erase a little. I'm taking a break here for a minute. Oh. Kathy, back on the Croquet Cafe, I've always just gone to their website. I didn't really think about following them on YouTube. Beth, I was watching somebody the other day that painted all of his paintings with a praying watercolor set. I think he had a little larger color assortment, but that's what he used. I want to say he was Australian. All right, let's dig into this. I know y'all are getting tired. And like I said, the easy part, we got it up there. The easy part's copying somebody else. We'll use that. I'm going to start using these mini palettes because it sure is easier online. I didn't need that. I don't know what color that was, so I just used it. I think it may have been violet. Violet. I'm using raw sienna in place of yellow ochre. And I forgot to say, don't stay in the lines. Come back in on that when it's dry. Excuse me. Yep. Too wet. Come back on that too. Looks like her mouth is skewed that way and her eyes are that way. That's funny. I don't care who you are. That's funny. Okay. Excuse me. I'm getting muddier colors because I'm forgetting to change my brush. You know what I mean, right? I have no idea what that color is. It looks like carmine or alizarin. Oops. Ah. Okay. Tried to get to a point where I didn't need my wet and wet anymore. Y'all talking? Is anybody left? Yeah, it's almost tie-dyed, isn't it, Beth? For those of you that are beginners, bye, Jelly. Daniel Smith has an excellent 6-color set that are all the colors that you need. 2 yellows, 2 reds, 2 blues. And that will get you into artist quality paint at a very low, I think it's $35. I'm not sure. That's just fun copying somebody else. Ah. Didn't need that. Didn't want that. That's red too. It's too wet. Okay. Can you tell I'm having fun? Drop everything that isn't tied down. I'm still with ya. All right, I am coming in for the close. Now, I should have, that's not bad, left a little more light on this. And so then we'll come back in with some darker. Alrighty. Now, anybody still there? Ooh, 10 after 6. Ooh, I missed a lot. Joycey, what paper? Arches cold press. 140. I'm sorry, I got into a little bit of a zone. It's on sale. It was on sale at Cheap Joe's for about $3 or $4 full sheet. But that may be over now. I'm sorry, guys. You may have to, I don't know what, if I get in that kind of a mode. Sorry, but I forget. Oh, I'm so glad somebody's learning something. Oh, God. We need to figure out a solution for that. If we can get the hangouts done where, up to 10 of you can be, and then you could holler at me. I live in Northwest Arkansas, the home of Walmart. Thanks, Joycey. I'm going to figure out hangouts because I think that would be a big help. Of course, we figure that out and then they'll change it. So there's not much. Overall, I like it. There's some areas where I could come in with some darks, but overall, it's not too bad. Looks like she's headbutted somebody, but we're good. Any more questions before we log off? Be sure and check the thumbs up if you like it. And promoting myself. Thanks. Now y'all know why I don't paint with you any more than I do is because it gets so boring to you. Anyway. I guess that's it. Thanks, Beth. Thanks, Gail. I can do it more often, so I need to do it more often for myself. Okay. Over and out. Love you guys. I will see you sometime, maybe over the weekend on a prompt too, but we don't know. All right. I'm closing it off. Bye-bye.